Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I run the blog livefromtheviolasection.com where I share my favorite practice tips, general advice, and tech for musicians. Today I want to walk through how you can set up a productive practice space wherever you are, whether you live with your parents or if you're at college, if you have your own apartment or own home. No matter what it may be, setting up a dedicated space where you can practice whenever you need to and to do so productively and get the most out of your practice time is very, very important as a musician. So through the years, I've practiced in many different places like the living room, my bedroom, instrument storage closets, college practice rooms, dedicated rooms in my home, my own teaching studio, lots of different places, and some have been much more productive and better for practicing than others. It depends on how many distractions you have and if you can really just go there and know, okay, this is where I go to focus. Having that set up is very, very helpful. So let's talk first about finding a practice space. This is sometimes the hardest part of the whole experience, is just finding a space, especially if you live with family or if you live in an apartment where you feel like you can't make much noise. If you live somewhere where you can't make a lot of noise while you're practicing, first see what you can do to make your instrument quieter. So if you play a string instrument, get a practice mute. If you play the drums, get some kind of pad to make it quieter. Things like that, just to reduce the amount of sound you make, will really, really help. So it doesn't really matter how large or small your practice space is, as long as there's enough room for you and your instrument and your music and everything that you need. As long as you've got room for the necessities, you should be good to go. And for practice space, it's best if you don't need to set up and tear down the space over and over and over again. Like if it's in the living room and you need that corner of the room to do one thing at one part of the day, and then later it's your practice space, it's a lot harder to make that work and get consistent practicing done when you have to change what the room is for. So if you can set up a corner of the room and that is always your practice space, your stand is always there, your music is always out. If you don't have any small kids or pets that will mess with your instrument, you can keep your instrument out on a stand, and seeing that reminder through the day is going to help you get more consistent practice done more often, and that is always, always a good thing. And if you have your own home, great thing you can do is have a dedicated room just for practicing. And I know that might sound crazy to some people who aren't real dedicated musicians, but if practicing is a big part of your day and you really, really want to get better and really dedicate time to it, having your own practice room is very, very helpful to get that done. Of course, you work with what you've got. That's always okay. That's all you can do. But if you have a home, a single family home, then it's great to have a whole room where you can do that. I have this whole room as my teaching studio, so it's also my practice space all in one. But it's great that this is separate from the rest of the house. I feel like when I come in here, I just come in here to do work or play my instruments. But either way, it's music related, and that's about all that I do in here. And if you're in college, maybe if you're going to college for music, there are probably practice rooms on campus. And when I practiced in practice rooms at school, there was one room that was my favorite. It always had a table in it where I could unpack. It had the nice mirror. It was just my favorite out of all of them, and it had a really good stand in there too. So I would always take that room if it was available. Otherwise, I had backup rooms that I really liked. So get acquainted with different practice rooms on campus. See if you just like one of them better than the others. There might not be a rhyme or reason to why you like it more, but if you can kind of make that connection with the space, then it makes things easier to walk across campus and go to the room and unpack and get your music out and get your pencil out and all of those things that lead up to actually practicing. Let's talk about the tools that you will probably want to keep in your practice space. So first of all, you'll want your instrument, whatever that is, or instruments if you play more than one. I find it very, very, very helpful to keep my instruments out on a stand so that they are out of the case all the time, and I can just come in here, pick them up, and play literally whenever I feel like it. It helps keep me motivated so much, and I found that to be true for most of my life because I've had these instrument stands basically since I started playing the violin and the viola, and keeping them out has always helped me because I just walk over, I play what I want, I didn't have to do much work. I didn't have to unpack it, clean it up, pack it up again. Like, I know it sounds kind of lazy, but it really, really helps. And I've heard many other musicians say the same thing. Leaving your instrument out, it's there as a constant reminder, like, oh yeah, I want to go play. You just pick it up and you play. It's super, super easy. Of course, if you have pets or kids or just anything that like might harm your instrument if it's just sitting out unattended, put it in the case, keep it safe. That's really the best thing that you can do. You'll also want a music stand in your space. If you're always using an iPad or a tablet, maybe you just have a tablet stand, but I just have a music stand in mine. I keep inspirational stickers on it, both for myself and for my students to feel welcome and comfortable in my studio. And I also have a new little kind of ledge thing that attaches to it where I can keep my tuner, an extra pencil, and eraser. I also have a little magnetic thing that wraps around a pencil, and then it just sticks to the stand. I pick it up, I use it, stick it back to the stand. It's really, really nice. You can either have like a sturdy Manhasset stand like I do, or you can have like a wire stand. Those are my least favorite though. I personally love the Peak portable music stands because they are totally flat on the back. It's like plastic and it folds up into smaller pieces, but it's plastic and it's a flat, like rectangular back. It's not wire where it's like little things to hold your music. It's a nice stand and it's great for gigs too. So other tools you might want are like a tuner and metronome. I personally usually use apps on my phone for this or on my iPad, depending on, like if I'm playing music on my iPad, I'm just gonna like swipe up and go to the apps and use those instead of like the actual physical thing. I don't even have a physical metronome right now, actually, just to be honest. I just use my phone because I really, really like the app Pro Metronome and Tonal Energy. Those are both really, really great metronome options. Pro Metronome has a free option. It can get you a lot, especially if you kind of manipulate things instead of doing subdivisions, just like multiply the tempo times 2 or something, and then you'll get a subdivision. But if you pay for it, then you can get all the fancy subdivisions and like polyrhythms and things. I used to have the paid version, and then I switched phones, and I don't have it anymore. And Tonal Energy is an app that you purchase right off the bat. I think it's $3. Thankfully, it's not a subscription because I do not like subscription-based apps. It's just annoying. Anyway, there are so many different options in Tonal Energy, and it's also a great tuner. So if you want an all-in-one app, Tonal Energy is really, really great. And like I already mentioned, a pencil and a nice eraser are also very important. If you're only playing music off of a tablet, then having the Bluetooth pencil, like an Apple Pencil or whatever goes along with your tablet, is also helpful. But I always keep a pencil and eraser on my stand because in my studio, most of my students play off of paper music, and I like having them anyway. It helps me feel like I'm just getting to work. It can also be really helpful to keep a timer in your practice space. I usually just use my phone, or if I'm wearing my smartwatch, I'll set a timer on there. So if you want to practice in short bursts, that's really helpful. Or if you know, okay, I have an hour to practice, but I don't want to keep looking at the clock, just set a timer for an hour and you'll know when the time is up. So that can kind of cut down distractions a little bit. It's really, really helpful to have a mirror in your practice space. And I've been meaning to get a mirror for in my studio so that students can see themselves and what they're really doing. So this is helpful because you get instant feedback. I know it's also really helpful to record yourself, but then you have to actually go back and watch the recording, and that's usually the scary part, is going back and watching. If you're in a mirror, you just immediately see what you're doing. You don't have to hear it because you're already hearing it. So mirrors are very, very helpful. I also recommend keeping a practice journal, practice log, or an app that has a practice journal built into it in your practice space, just because it's very helpful to keep track of what you're working on, what goes well, what needs a little bit more work, so that at your next practice session, you can know exactly what you want to do. And also, if you're feeling kind of upset and overwhelmed by practicing, you can read back through previous entries and see what you were doing. Is there like a practice strategy that you used to use that you totally forgot about? You can just remind yourself of that again. So it's really helpful to log all of your practicing. I do have a video about practice journals and kind of going through my old process and everything in a different YouTube video. So I'll link that up above. A couple musical bonuses that you might want to have in your space would be really nice speakers if you're playing along with recordings quite often. So if you're practicing orchestral excerpts and you like to play with a recording of an orchestra just to get an idea of how your part fits in, you might want to invest in some nice speakers that get really loud so that you can feel like you're part of the orchestra. It's also just nice to have if you're into music. You probably want to listen to music in a pretty high quality. It's also really helpful to have some mics in your practice space in case you want to record yourself. You can, of course, use just like the Voice Memos app on your phone. It's not going to be great quality, and it really, really compresses dynamics. So just be aware of that. If you record yourself on your phone, it's great for just a quick little, I want to see how I'm doing. I don't know what I actually sound like other than like what I hear right in my ear. So having mics is great if you want to record a couple things here and there. Just a nice kind of bonus thing to have. Last thing, I think that you should keep things that make you happy in your practice space, things that make it feel like you, things that make you feel comfortable. So I like to light a candle if I'm gonna do a really long practice session. I love candles, I love nice smells, so I have a candle warmer over by the door. I usually have that on if a student is coming in person, just so it smells nice in here, but it's also just fun to put that on before I practice, like a little ritual, like, okay, candles on, time to practice, things like that. I also like to keep a little motivational picture, and it's easy to feel if you've played in a practice room, like on campus. It kind of looks like a jail cell. It's easy to feel like, okay, I go to the practice room, there's no distractions in here for me at all. There are no windows, nothing at all. It's just cinder block walls. But I feel like practicing should be a happy experience, and it should come from a more loving place and not out of necessity or out of the fear that if you don't practice, bad things are going to happen. So keep things that remind you of who you are as a person. Keep things in there that inspire you, like pictures of loved ones or a candle or pretty artwork, or paint the wall your favorite color or something to bring your personality in so that it doesn't feel cold and lifeless. You want to have fun while you're playing, right? So keep the space fun too. It can be distraction free and fun and warm and welcoming. I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but you want to get rid of distractions where you can. I like to practice by a window. Sometimes if the window is open, I get very distracted though. So I have a curtain in front of it and I can open and close it whenever I feel like it. Sometimes if my cat is in here, I love my cat, but he's very cuddly and I want to cuddle him all the time. So if I'm practicing, well, sometimes he'll run away into a different room if I'm practicing, but if he's there, it's very easy for me to get distracted because I want to pet him and cuddle him and play with him. So, do what you can to minimize distractions. If that's telling the other people in your home, hey, I'm going into this room to practice, please don't bother me unless it's an emergency for like an hour, then do that. Or if it's turning off your phone and leaving it in another room, do that. Whatever you need to do to have that uninterrupted time and quiet time too. If someone is listening to TV or music really, really loud in the next room and you can hear the vibrations, that can be distracting too. It can mess up your tempo and just kind of cause your brain to not think. So do whatever you can to minimize distractions, but again, don't make it feel lifeless, like you can't have fun, like it's not you, like it has no personality. Still, keep yourself in your space. Okay, I'm gonna walk you through what my current practice space looks like. Here's my little practice setup. I'll go back a little bit so you can see the full thing. Preview of my studio tour. That'll really be coming soon. I'm so indecisive when it comes to hanging things on the wall, so that's what's taken me so long. So anyway, this is also set up for students too, so they can unpack on the chairs or the bench. A parent can sit here or they can sit in another seating area that I have. I have some musical artwork. These shelves I haven't quite figured out what I want to put on them yet. I have musical books that can give me inspiration if I want to look up how someone has played, or if I need a definition for something, I can look in there. And this little kind of shelf thing that was built in is just really nice for books and little cute things to sit around. So I've got some past programs from my recitals, some artwork that a student made me, some more art, and this is one of my very favorite little motivational pictures. I actually got it for free with an Etsy order. I bought a card from an Etsy shop. They sent me this for free, and it's just the perfect thing to put in a studio and practice space. I also have, and we have a cute little note that I drew when I was a kid. I heart piano, but sometimes I don't want to practice. Yep, that described my childhood. Just got some other cute little things. Beautiful artwork and my degrees, because I'm very proud of the work that I put in over the years. So then I also have my plants over here. I love to have a window and my plants in my practice space just because it's inspiring and I like feeling like I'm playing for something, but plants aren't going to give me negative feedback, so that's all good. Also, I like to think that maybe they'll grow nicer if they hear some pretty music. And then have the music stand with my inspirational stickers on it, and this little kind of tray, pencil, eraser, tuner, all those necessities, and my Bluetooth pedal for my iPad. So that's my setup right now, along with my instruments. They would be facing the other way if I was actually practicing right now, but this is basically where I keep them to teach online. So those are my basic tips to create a productive practice space for you. Incorporate your own personality into it and whatever you need to focus and have a good time playing your instrument. Is there a necessity that you keep in your practice space that I totally just did not mention today? Let me know in the comments, because if I missed something, I would love to know. And also, different instruments and different musicians need different things in order to practice. So I come from violin and viola and also a bit of piano, so I know kind of what those musicians need. But if you play a brass instrument, like what other kinds of things do you need in your practice space? I would love to know for other instrumental families. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I post new videos almost every Sunday at noon Eastern Time. Thanks for watching.